So for the last 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years, I've been buying so much tech and specifically cameras. I've had so many cameras over the last few years and I've really begun to learn exactly what is best for a lot of new beginners. I've worked with big cameras, full frame cameras, APS-C cameras, mirrorless cameras, pocket cameras. Any type of camera you can think of, I've most likely used. So I've got a pretty good understanding which camera is the best, especially for beginners. Whether you're money conscious, you've got a big budget, whether you're just trying to get started, by the end of this video, I want you to know what is the best camera you can pick up. Now, I've said it so many times, but the best camera you're going to start off with is your iPhone. If you have the latest iPhone or the latest Android phone, especially one of the more flagship phones, I guarantee that phone is perfect for the kind of content you most likely want to create, because a lot of people want to start on social media, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, or maybe even YouTube. And the great thing about most phones is as long as you can record in 4K, it's more than what you need. And what I've learned in my experience is that if you're not creating constantly, then gear isn't going to be your problem, and buying a new camera isn't going to fix that. Because one of the most important things before you make any sort of investment is that you know what you're going to invest in. If you're the kind of person that's thinking, hey, I want to create some amazing content, I want to get straight into it, but you haven't even posted 5 or 10 times just with your iPhone, then it's very unlikely buying a camera is going to fix that problem. So I think for most people, you really should just start with your iPhone. And I'm pretty confident if you've been inspired by many other creators like I have, a lot of them started with their iPhone. Now, I'm not saying that the iPhone or the Android phones is going to be better than the camera, but actually creating content is better than not creating anything. Because if you invest a bunch of money onto buying maybe a new camera and you create no content, I'm not gonna lie to you, you've probably just wasted a lot of money that you could have used on something completely different. So before you go out and buy your camera, I actually recommend you start with your iPhone. But for those people who have gone past that stage and are very confident in the kind of content they want to create and actually want to invest in their first camera, then I think I've got you covered in this video. So when it comes to something like the iPhone 17 Pro Max, this might be the first time where I can confidently say the iPhone is probably more than enough. Like as in, you can shoot ProRes RAW, you can shoot in 4K 120, you can get 48 megapixel pictures because the iPhone 17 Pro Maxes and iPhone 17 Pros have 3 48 megapixels. And that actually is a big deal, especially if you want to take a lot of photos. But more specifically for creators looking to make videos, the fact that you can shoot in Apple log means you can really push the footage far and actually get some really high quality videos. So for the first time ever, this might be an iPhone that some may argue is actually better than some of the cheaper cameras available on the market. And let's call a spade a spade. A lot of people need to have a phone anyway. So if you want to get into creating content, you may as well invest your money getting the best possible iPhone, which is of course the iPhone 17 Pros. Because with this iPhone 17, it gives you cinema camera features directly in your pocket. And that's something that not every single camera could do. And I'm pretty sure you could run a YouTube channel just from your phone. Because the really good thing about your phone, which I also refer to as your everyday camera, make sure to check out my last video talking about that, is the fact you can actually do everything from your phone. So if you're looking into just starting and creating content, there might be a case where you actually haven't got a powerful laptop or you haven't got a great machine to actually edit a lot of your videos. The good thing about investing in something like the iPhone 17 Pro or the latest high-end Android phone is that you now have the ability to do a lot of the entire process of creating a video directly on the phone. Because to create a video, you start with an idea, you should then script the idea, then you're going to record the idea, edit the idea, and then post the idea. You can do all of that directly on the iPhone. So if you invest money on getting the latest iPhone, that could be the first time where you have your entire editing suite all in one place. And on a separate note, I'm actually using no light. So what I want to make clear is that you can actually record really good videos directly with your iPhone, because this we're looking at right now is shot on my iPhone 17 Pro Max using the Blackmagic app. So there's two sides to the coin when it comes to shooting with your iPhone. And for a lot of beginners, the best thing to do is to just hit the record button directly on the camera app and you can get some really good looking content. However, if you have the knowledge and you put a bit of time learning about it, you can now take it to the next level and get that really high level content, specifically from your iPhone, which is crazy to think about because right now this is all being shot in Apple Log 2 color profile. So I have the ability to color grade this footage the same way I would color grade my footage from my FX3 camera. For my current light source for this video, all I'm using is the light from the background, which is just a window light to light up my face. And that is a very low budget, low effort video. So why not save your money and just start with something like your iPhone? Although if you do want to get the most out of your iPhone, I definitely do recommend you pick up a microphone. Something like the DJI mic will make your life so much easier because it's great quality and it's fairly cheap. And then also getting some sort of tripod or camera mount to mount on your iPhone. And really that's it. And that can cost you less than £80 to get some really good content. So the barrier to entry from a financial standpoint when it comes to using something like your iPhone is really, really low. And that's why I stress it to a lot of people. If you want to get to creating content, just start with something like your iPhone. So a lot of people talk about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and also now the Pocket 4 as the go-to camera for a lot of creators. And I know over the last few months and maybe even years, there was a massive trend for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 when it first came out because it was sold out for months before you could even pick one up because it was just so popular. And I guess the question is, why do people love this camera so much and why do they recommend it? So from somebody who's owned it for well over a year now, I can tell you from my own experience, I think the reason why a lot of people love this camera is because of its ease of use, its portability, and the fact that it's not too expensive, and it does get you some really sharp, good quality content because it's able to shoot in 4K slow-mo, 4K 60. You can shoot in the D-Log M profile, which isn't the same as the traditional D-Log profile. It's more of a reduced version of that log profile. This camera also has a built-in gimbal, a built-in screen, and in my last video, I referred to it as an everyday camera. I'll put the caveat that it's your intentional everyday camera, so that way you have a separation between your phone and then a camera. And the great thing about the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and 4 is the fact that these cameras are so portable and they have a bunch of features guided to making it really good, especially for beginners. And the fact that it has a built-in gimbal means that the videos are all going to be super smooth and look super crisp. And it also has a bunch of beginner and user-friendly settings to make sure your videos look just how you'd want it to look. So that barrier to entry and that learning curve is really quite low because you can literally pick it up and hit record and it is good to go. This camera for me, I think is ideal for the travel vloggers, people want to create maybe day in the life videos, maybe even people want to focus on social media because you also have the ability to shoot natively in horizontal. Although the quality is a little bit cropped at, I believe, 3K, this isn't a massive deal breaker because most social media platforms, they compress it down to 1080p anyway. Finally, an actual dedicated camera. So something like the Sony ZVE10 is almost like an entry point to get towards that professional level. And I think for people who really want to take content really serious, it's probably in your best interest financially to start off with this sort of camera because the investment and the cost isn't too high. And that's why I recommend it for a lot of beginners out there. And the great thing about these cameras is it has the ability to shoot in 4K, up to 4K 30, which is good enough for most platforms. And in most situations, if you're looking at buying a camera for creating content, not having the ability to shoot at 4K 60 is not a deal breaker because I'm going to be very honest with you, you probably won't notice not having that because most cases you're going to shoot at 4K 30. You also have the ability to shoot in S-Log, which is a flat color profile. And when it comes to color grading, it is so much better compared to the Apple Log and also the D-Log M. However, we're getting technical now, it's only at 8-bit, which isn't as good as something like the FX3 or the A7 IV. We have the ability to shoot at 10-bit, which gives you way more information when you're trying to color grade and really push your content further. However, that doesn't stop you from at least getting into color grading from the Sony ZVE10, sorry, and then actually learning how it works. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve to learn how to actually color grade, but once you learn the basics, or at least by a lot that works for you, or a power grade that works for you, it really is going to make your content stand out and look really, really good. One other thing I'll add about the Sony ZVE10 is that the quality is much better. When you can shoot in low light, it looks really good. And with the ability to change lenses, you have more separation between yourself and the background because those lenses are a lot bigger. Long story short, before we get too technical, it looks so much better. And whether you're shooting with your iPhone or your DJI or a camera, people, your audience, and even yourself, you can tell the level of quality just jumps up when you use something like a camera. But if you're a beginner thinking about which camera to buy, whether it's the get the latest iPhone, whether it's to get a DJI Osmo Pocket 3 or 4, or if it's to get the Sony ZVE10 Mark 1 or Mark 2. I think you should really think about what kind of content you want to shoot. If you are the tester, this is the person that's maybe new to creating content and has no idea what camera to even buy, or more importantly, do they even like creating content? Don't buy anything. Just start with what you have, which is probably going to be your iPhone. There'll be a bunch of videos teaching you how to get the best out of your camera, right? So for the tester, don't buy anything just yet and actually test and see if you like creating content, because that person there's no need for you to go and spend a bunch of money to find out you don't like creating content. Then there's the vlogger, the person looking to capture a day in the life videos, or even some small bits on social media for Instagram and TikTok and maybe YouTube. The person trying to capture a day in the life. You want something that's a bit inconspicuous. You want something that just sits in the background. You might not have noticed it, but this DJI has been there this whole entire time. Maybe he did, maybe didn't. But the point I'm trying to make is, with something like the DJI, it's really small, it's really portable, and it's something you can carry with you all the time. Now, if you are looking to get really into content and create maybe like a YouTube channel, talking head videos, or something even like this, if I've inspired you, I feel great. But if you want to create talking head videos, you want to maybe get professional, maybe in like a year or two, then I think the mirrorless camera is the best bet for that particular person. And I like to call that the serious starter, because you're really invested into creating some high quality and amazing content. So those are 3 different areas you should think of when it comes to creating content. So if you have no idea what to buy, drop a comment below and I'll try and give you my best advice. But those 3 different cameras are probably the best ones for most content creators just starting out. And I think that's the best way to differentiate between the 3 different groups. Any other questions, please feel free to drop a comment below, man. It's been a fun one. I've enjoyed it, but time to go back to work. Peace.